Hi, y'all. I'm Obscure Girl. I like movies. I like weird movies. I like weird, trippy, obscure movies that I feel like no one has seen or is talking about. Whether that be because they're so old or the marketing's just bad, because you're like, I think that was a fever dream I had when I was 5. I'm here to tell you, it wasn't. Let's talk about it. But today we're going to be talking about something slightly different. If you cannot already tell, just from, first glance, I'm a bit of the gothic persuasion. More than a bit. Thing is, I have been my entire life, ever since I was actually a baby. And I was thinking about it and thinking about it, and my best friend Haley actually was just like, hey, why don't you just talk about this on your channel? So, thanks, Hales. Um, I want to talk about why I'm goth, and why maybe you are too, if you're watching this. There are so many references now of goth culture in TV. I didn't have that growing up, and I still ended up like this anyway. I didn't have Ruby Gloom. I didn't have, the all the new Addams Family, all the new Tim Burtons. I didn't have any of that. When I grew up, there was just Nightmare Before Christmas, and I didn't even see that until I was a teenager. So I was like, I've always liked goth, creepy things in media, but there wasn't nearly as many to choose from when I was little. So how did I still find that stuff? And how did it kind of shape all of this? So first, I kind of want to go into what does goth mean to me? Because it's not just wearing black clothes and having awesome makeup and looking like this. Being goth to me is more, first of all, it's an attitude. It's being sassy and sexy and maybe a little mysterious and definitely maybe a little bit on the overdramatic side, or as I like to call it, passionate. It's also a lifestyle. It means you love creepy, you love macabre, you love weird, everything creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky, and altogether ooky, and also a serious obsession with the occult and witch culture. So, to me, that is what goth is. And I really wanted to preface that before getting into this list that I'm about to give you, because some of these you're going to be like, that's not goth. And I will counter, it doesn't have to be specifically goth to be of the goth attitude, of the goth vibe, of adding into a gothic persona. So without any further ado, these are my top 15 biggest goth girl inspirations. Now, in order for me to say this was a inspiration growing up, I put the cutoff as things that I saw before I was 10 years old. So there are definitely several things that kept me going post age 10. However, these are the things that I saw in my very basic formative years that have helped contribute to who and what I wanted to be with my life. So, number 15, The Wicked Witch of the West. Known today as Elphaba, uh, my very first movie that I ever saw was The Wizard of Oz. I talked about this in my Return to Oz video. Apparently I was a very colicky baby, which means I never stopped screaming. And the only thing that ever got me to shut up was my parents threw me down in front of The Wizard of Oz, and I sat through the entire thing transfixed, just completely obsessed. And it wasn't just with Dorothy, even though it was plenty with Dorothy, but it was also with the witches. So many of my childhood pictures, I'm either dressed as a princess, as Dorothy, or as a witch. And I very rarely do see me in normal clothes in any of my childhood pictures, actually. But 100%, The Wicked Witch of the West was definitely a base, formatic part of me growing up to be this witchy goth girl, because that was my first witch, and I thought that was fascinating. And ever since then, I have been looking up everything about witch culture that I ever could. Some of my earliest memories are going to the library that was across the street, and I would go into their basement, which was where the kids section was, and I would look up every kid's book on the Salem witch trials, on witchcraft. I even found this really cute little book of like witch spells from media and culture and poems, and I was just obsessed ever since. And that base formatting comes from The Wicked Witch of the West. Number 14, Magenta from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, yes, I did say the cutoff for this was things that I saw before I was 10 years old. And lucky for me, I just happened to have a cousin that was a creative babysitter, to say the least. Shout out to my cousin Trina. And I remember her flipping through channels one day and being like, oh my God, Rocky Horror. And one of the first things I saw, like I didn't even see it from the beginning, I saw it from Touch a Touch Me. And I loved that song immediately. I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. And I was just like, oh my God, what is all of this? Look at all this makeup. Look at all those. What are those fishnets? And Magenta specifically, I'm just like, I want to be that girl. She looks like a bad girl. She looks awesome. I want to be like that. She talks funny. I like it. And so ever since then, Magenta has definitely been on my list of like inspirations. And, now to this day, obviously, I got a lot more into Rocky Horror, but from that very base, like I saw one scene to the end of the movie with Magenta in it and was hooked. Number 13, Miss Scarlet from Clue, the movie. So yes, that this is one of the first ones that you might be like, she wasn't goth. Au contraire, because I securely put the bad girl from movies and TV shows and whatever into the goth category, just regardless. It's the attitude. Just because she didn't have black lipstick and wear black didn't mean she wasn't a goth baddie at heart. She was a madam. She traded in secrets. She was this amazing bad girl that just knew how to flaunt it and be sexy and aloof and controlled every room she walked into and was still sassy and funny the whole time. And I watched Clue super young because that movie's awesome and you can watch it super young. And was just like, yeah, that one. Also, if I don't get to play Miss Scarlet in any game of Clue we play for the rest of my life, I'm going to throw a temper tantrum. I still do. So, Miss Scarlet was definitely really cool and definitely one of those stepping stones for sure. Even without the black, that's why I'm saying goth is an attitude. Number 12. This is the first of the, well, duh. Morticia Addams from the Addams Family. Specifically the Angelica Houston version. Though I did really enjoy the original Morticia, I just didn't see that version until years later when TV Land was a thing. So, Angelica Houston as Morticia Addams was just fabulous. Just in all of the ways. Like, Wednesday was cool, don't get me wrong, and I still love Christina Ricci, and stuff she did later on definitely contributed. But I wasn't as big a Wednesday as I wanted to be the mom. I wanted to be Morticia. I wanted to be that sexy and be in the garden and just have this dramatic air of mystery and awesomeness and just have, a husband that worships me and, dance the night away with the sexiest tango imaginable. Like, I wanted all of that. Duh. If I feel like if you're a goth girl, this is one of the duh. Number 11, Daphne Blake from Scooby Doo. Definitely one of the reasons I'm a redhead, that's for sure. But Daphne was, again, didn't wear black or anything, but she was the ultimate girl that was into the spooky. From all the movies, Daphne's one of the first ones who's just like, I want to believe in the real supernatural. I want to find a real monster. I want to find a real haunting. This is my passion. This is why I'm here. And I was just like, oh, cool. I'm not the only one. Awesome. Awesome. And I watched so much Scooby Doo. I watched all of the series. Not the newer one, not all the newer ones. I definitely watched some of the newer ones. Some, the animation style makes me sad inside. But, like, the ones where they had famous guest stars, I watched all of that. Every Phyllis Diller, every Globetrotter, every Don Knotts episode, I watched them all. And then especially like the live action movie when it's Sarah Michelle Gellar and she's like, no, I'm taking back my own power and I will learn self defense and I will not just be the girl who gets captured because I'm looking for the creepy thing. So, yeah, Daphne, half duh. I'm gonna put her at half duh because original spooky icon, but also not wearing black. So, half duh. Number 10, Fiona Phillips from So Weird. If you've seen my So Weird episode, you know I was addicted to this show. It's why I wear thumb rings. It's why I like to type as loudly as possible on my keyboard. And it's one of the big reasons behind like how much I got into researching supernatural things. And witchcraft and my Irish heritage, even though that was already kind of a given with me. But just so much of it ended up just seeping into me big time. Also, just if you haven't checked out my video on that, please check out that video. And if you haven't checked out So Weird, it's on Disney Plus. Please go. It's so cool. When I found out it was on Disney Plus, I actually cried. So, Fiona Phillips, I have a whole video on that one already. Number 9, the Hex Girls from Scooby Doo. Again, I have a whole video on this one already. If you haven't already, check out my Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost video. But Hex Girls was one of the first references of modern goth culture in a little kid program. So obviously that struck a chord with me. And they were singers, which was so cool because all I wanted to do was be a singer and an actress when I was a kid. And so this was just big time like, oh my gosh, I can look like this and sing too. That's so cool. And again, witch culture, big time, came from this, even with the misrepresentation of Wicca, whatever. Check out my whole video for that rant. I am not getting into it now. But obviously, the Hex Girls are going to be on this list. And obviously, I'm sure you're surprised they're this low, but trust me, there were more inspirations coming that were just a bit stronger. But again, Hex Girls, one of the first real representations of goth, modern goth culture in little kid media. Number 8. Well, here's the next of the duh, because Lydia Deetz. I myself am strange and unusual. Oh my god. I mean, obviously, I've always loved Tim Burton. What not a lot of people know is that actually Beetlejuice is my favorite Tim Burton film. I know a lot of people just automatically assume it's Nightmare Before Christmas, and yes, that's a Henry Selick movie. We'll get into that later. But Beetlejuice was very much a big one for me. And actually, the animated Beetlejuice series was my favorite cartoon of all time. I have all of it on DVD, and it still hits. I absolutely love every version of it. I last year saw the Broadway version in Chicago, and that was absolutely sensational. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. Lydia Deetz is an icon for a reason. She's a girl that knows what she likes, knows what she wants, and isn't afraid to act out when she needs to act out, and also isn't afraid to stand up for herself. And, you know, she can be a little bit lost, like all of us are, but she ends up finding strength in the people around her. And the animated version, oh my god, Lydia just goes off. She's literally like the compass guiding Beetlejuice through the netherworld, and he's totally obsessed with her as his best friend. And you know, the series is a lot of basically what they had said that Tim Burton really kind of wanted that relationship to be like in the actual movie, but things happened and that couldn't happen. So he got to let that all out in the animated series. And thank goodness, because it's so great. No matter what the version is of Lydia, the musical, the movie, the sequel, the animated series, obviously she's a huge inspiration for me. She is that goth girl. And I think we all owe a little bit to Lydia Deetz. Number 7, the girls from The Craft. I can't just narrow it down to one of them, it's all 4. Each one of them gave me a little something that added into this. Obviously, Nancy and Sarah predominantly, but Rochelle and Bonnie too, honestly. Like, they each had something, whether it was trying to find self-confidence, or trying to overcome bullying, or trying to find love, or trying to find prosperity for your family, no matter what, or just trying to find power and feeling so powerless in the world around you, especially as, you know, yeah, I saw this before I was 10, and I know that's some of you are probably thinking that's young, but my parents realized that I was, you know, into all this stuff anyway, so what was the point of keeping it from me? but also just feeling very powerless as a young kid who doesn't get to make a lot of decisions for herself in her life, and just feeling like the world around her is just going to have its way with her instead of the other way around, and just wanting so desperately to be able to change that. That I think is a big part of goth girl attitude, is saying, no, this is what I have control over. I have control over myself. And I think that's cool for us, man. Like, yeah, go off. But the craft girls, absolutely. And also, I think we all just learned valuable life lessons from that movie, especially those of us young witches who wanted to start dabbling in things we didn't fully understand yet. I think a lot of us learned lessons from that we then even got to pass on, maybe if you're lucky, to the next generation of witches. And like, hey, slow down. Read the material all the way through. Don't read stupid materials. And don't put anything out into the world that you don't want coming back at you threefold. Just don't. Number 6. Marnie Cromwell from Halloween Town. Yes, spooky season is freshly over, but when I'm filming this, it's less than a week away, so you know I watched this less than a week ago. And just reinforced all of those things of whimsigoth, which is definitely a subcategory I think I fit into. Just gothic whimsy. And Marnie Cromwell is just this girl who knows what she likes. She likes the creepy, she likes the spooky, and she's all in on it, even when no one else around her really gets it or encourages it or even supports it in any way, shape, or form. And she decides, like, she finds out she has this power within her, and she'll be damned if she's gonna let that go for anything, even her mom. Which, just a side note too, the mom in Halloween Town, I keep thinking every time I'm about to watch it, like maybe this will be the point where I can, relate to her a little bit more, like I do so many other moms in movies I grew up with. She's just the worst. Like, no matter what, she tries to take away her daughter's autonomy and her powers, which so many people would freaking kill for, and something she's been passionate about her whole life anyway. And she's like, nope, I'm going to squash it like a bug, not let you have any say in it, not even let you know about it. So, that mom is the worst, and Marnie is the best. Even if she was 13, yeah, like that part didn't age as well. When she's just like, I'm 13, I'm practically adult. And when I saw it, I was just like, yeah, she is. And now I'm just like, okay, honey, no. But you still have autonomy. That's important. So Marnie being that girl who is just so into being a witch and so into the occult and the supernatural, and again, knowing what she wants, knowing what she likes, and is declaring, this is me, and nothing and no one is going to take it from me. Thank you, Marnie. Number 5, Sarah Sanderson. Yes, Hocus Pocus, Sarah Sanderson. Um, Growing up, obviously, Hocus Pocus was one of the biggest movies that had the biggest effect on me. That was the one I saw very young. I saw it obviously before Halloween Town because it came out before, and was one of those movies that my parents sat me down for. It was on Disney Channel all the time anyway, and I was hooked from the start. Just again, that they dressed cool, they were witches, they had powers, they lived in this awesome cabin in the middle of the woods, and Sarah was just this boy crazy, silly, fun girl who could use her voice to command people. Again, if you've seen any of my previous videos, being a siren was something really cool to me as a kid. And Sarah being able to just command people with her voice and singing so beautifully and just being sexy and so cool and so funny. I wanted all of that. Absolutely. No questions asked. Sarah was so cool. Amok. Alright, sorry. I'm done. Number 4. Poison. Poison ivy.
Poison. Poison ivy.
From Batman and Robin. And then later on, Batman the Animated Series and the comics and everything else. But originally, my first introduction to Batman at all, let alone Poison Ivy, was Batman and Robin, because that was the one that came out when I was a kid. And it really still messes with me to this day to find out just how much people hate that movie, and I'm sure people might have just clicked off because I said that. But Batman and Robin, like me and my friends would all play like Batman and Robin when we were kids. Like some of us were like, okay, you're Batman, you're Robin, I'm little Poison Ivy's little sister. And, like we would just run around and, pretend like we were, Batman and villains and stuff. And Poison Ivy was definitely one of the three big influences on me growing up, one of my actual heroes. Because, first of all, another one, like, she's not technically, she doesn't wear black or anything, but the drama and the sexy and the mysterious and the passion. Like, Poison Ivy is a villain, yes, but it's because she is so passionate about the things she cares about and so passionate about wanting to protect that.
Hell, I am Mother Nature.
And I respect that, even to this day. Like, yeah, look at what we're doing to the planet. Obviously, someone's gotta get mad.
It's not nice to fool with Mother Nature.
This is definitely a character that I have some opinions on. But Poison Ivy was definitely Uma Thurman's portrayal of her, I thought was absolutely glorious and fabulous. So sexy, so cool. I was so mad when she doesn't win at the end. Even to this day, I'm still like. But, and when Batgirl's all like, oh, using your feminine wiles to get your way, and I'm like, do what works, honey. What? That's part of feminism, is choosing what kind of a woman you want to be. Just like how men get to choose what kind of a man they want to be. So, anyway, sorry, just got into a whole political kind of thing, but yes, Poison Ivy, she was that bitch. She was so sexy, and she, again, was passionate about what she wanted, and I thought that was so cool, and another reason I'm a redhead, and I just wanted to be so much like her. Number 3, Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus. Obviously, Winnie's on this list. Sarah was so cool, and I loved her so much, but Winifred was the boss. She was the one who was calling all the shots. She was the one who had the most magical aptitude. She had the book. She was the lead singer, which of course I wanted to be. I still know all the choreography to I Put a Spell on You to this day. I feel like maybe I'm not the only one that still knows all of that. And she was just so cool. And yeah, super campy, super overdramatic. Okay, cool. Because, I was a tiny child and was learning who I was, and who I was a bit on the drama side. Passionate. Passionate. And so just the way she talked and the way she sang and the way she just commanded her presence in every room and every space she was in. Yeah, man! Obviously! And yes, again, some people might say this is more towards witchy than towards goth. Witchcore and gothcore are not the same thing, but that's a Venn diagram with a whole bunch of overlap. It's not a circle, but it's practically a circle. So, Winifred Sanderson, obviously. Number 2, Sarah Williams from Labyrinth.
Give me the child.
Never in my entire life have I related to a character so hard. Sarah, from the moment I saw that movie, I was 4 years old, and I was, first of all, immediately in love with David Bowie. And just Sarah was me. That was exactly who I was. I was the girl who was constantly dressing up and pretending to be someone I wasn't, and fantasizing that this beautiful, like, powerful man was in love with me and wanted to take me away from everything that I was living in, and having a little brother who took a bit of attention away and who I still would protect with my dying breath. But, back when he's a crying, screaming baby and you're the one babysitting him and taking care of him, it can feel that way. You can feel a little bit like Cinderella, and you just want this fantasy life and you're stuck in a real one, and that sometimes can feel like a jail. And so Sarah was just, yeah, she was me at 4 years old. And to this day, I still don't think I've found a character I've related to more in my entire life. Just she was willing to go on adventures, and she was willing to take what she wanted, and she was willing to sacrifice for those that she loved. And yeah, she didn't wear black, but she lived that drama life. She lived that passionate life. She loved the kooky and the weird and the creepy and the fantasy. And I guess influence is a weird word because it was more just a reflection and an amplification of what I already was at that point and continue to be to this day. Before getting to number one, I want to throw in some honorable mentions, and that would be the influences that came after age 10 that just keep stoking this fire of continuing to inspire me to be that goth girl that I always wanted to be, and just being absolutely amazing. So, these are them. But of course, my number one goth girl influence should be no surprise to anyone who's been following me for more than a week. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Yeah, duh, I just did a whole tribute to her, and that wasn't even the first time I've mentioned her on this channel. Elvira's my hero. Like, I was a little kid, I was like 5, and I found Elvira Pinball at my favorite restaurant, and I was like, ooh, what is this? What is she? She's so pretty and sexy and funny. What is she saying? She's funny and she's so creepy and dark and mysterious, and I didn't know you could be all of those things at once. So then my parents sat me down. They're like, she already watches Svengoolie, and they showed me Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and that was it. That was all she wrote. I wanted to be her ever since. And yeah, it was Elvira, Poison Ivy, and Jessica Rabbit that were definitely the 3 parts of this genetic makeup, you might say. But Elvira is just my hero. She is, sex positive but has standards. She wears what she wants to wear and is not ashamed of being who she is. And she's so funny and sassy and cool. She is what every goth girl probably does aspire to be on some level. I feel like every goth girl has that one that's the biggest influence of the goth queens, whether that's the Bride of Frankenstein or Morticia or Vampira if you're old school, or Lydia. For me, Elvira was my number one and continues to be to this day. And please check out my Elvira video, because that was super fun and probably one of the funnest videos I've made so far. So, this has been my list for my top goth girl inspirations, also known as This Is Why I'm Goth. I might cut that part out. That was really cheesy. But I hope if you're seeing this, if you relate to this at all, maybe this might have been a little eye-opening for you as well. Let me know in the comments below, who was your favorite goth girl in media growing up? Who is it now? I know there's so many more now. But growing up, it was slightly slimmer pickings. And so let me know who made you who you wanted to be, especially if you're a goth witch queen. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it. I bring out content every Sunday. Sometimes I do clue little short videos for you to guess what the upcoming episode is. And sometimes I just want to chat. And please like this video if you like it. Please share it out to other people if you're like, hey, you're goth. What do you think? And otherwise, visit me on Patreon. My patrons get exclusive content before other people do. They get shout outs on this channel. And they can help me with things like a microphone that doesn't suck and curtains and lighting kind of things. So, I've been Obscure Girl, and the rest is confetti.